John here, and today I'm going to review Striking Distance, starring Bruce Willis. And I do like the film. I think it's a little bit underrated. Now, when you talk about his other films like The Last Boy Scout, the first three Die Hard films, The Fifth Element, those are films that I prefer more and I enjoy more than Striking Distance. But I still like it. And this was around the time when he was doing films like, Hudson Hawk, which I like Hudson Hawk. I know a lot of people make fun of the film and it's the butt of the joke. But to me, it's a fun movie. And a couple of years later, he would do Striking Distance. And, I get around this time, it may not have been the strongest period for Bruce Willis, action-wise. Now, when you look at the year 1993, for action, it was more of Stallone's year. He did Cliffhanger and Demolition Man. Van Damme did Hard Target. Schwarzenegger did Last Action Hero. A very solid year for action movies. And this one, is more of the less talked about Bruce Willis movies. But get into the film. The plot, you have Bruce Willis, who's this cop, and oddly enough, his name is Tom Hardy. And the film opens up, you have this trial where he suspects his partner, who is played by Robert Pastorelli. And this guy you've seen before, he was in Eraser with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He plays his buddy in the film. The pizza guy that has a seizure, that guy. And you've seen him in many films. I think he was in the TV series Murphy Brown. And unfortunately, he passed away some time back. Quite a few people in this film that unfortunately is no longer with us. But Robert Pastorelli plays his partner in the film. And the film opens up with a trial, and you have Bruce Willis's father in the film, played by John Mahoney. And pretty soon, they get into this pursuit where they're chasing the suspect, and his father gets killed. Meanwhile, you have this strangler, this killer going around, and killing these people, and Bruce Willis has a suspicion that it's a cop, that it's the work of a cop. And his whole family is cops. I mean, you have his uncle, who's played by Farina. He's a cop. You have this one character who's also a cop, played by Brion James. And this guy you've seen before. He was in Tango and Cash. The scene where the ponytail guy. He was the ponytail guy in Tango and Cash. And he was also in The Fifth Element with Bruce Willis. He's in the film. So, for every scene Brion James and Bruce Willis has, Brion James is chewing out Bruce Willis because he suspects that a cop is this strangler. And so he's sort of shunned by the force. And as a result, he is demoted to river duty on a boat, doing river duty. And his new partner is Sarah Jessica Parker, who plays his character Joe. And I thought she was good in the film. And, meanwhile, he's trying to solve this mystery of, these women that are being killed because at one point, they were sort of a love interest where they knew Bruce Willis's character. So you got these victims that are showing up, and he thinks it's the strangler who's also a cop. And the force, his family, again, they're all cops, and, they're giving Bruce Willis's character a hard time because, again, he thinks it's a cop, and he's trying to figure out and solve this mystery. And again, Brion James, his character's giving him shit throughout the film. Farina, he's like, leave this alone. It's a shut case. You got Tom Sizemore in the film too, who plays the son. Actually, Robert Pastorelli, I almost forgot to mention this, is the cousin of Bruce Willis's character in the film. He's Bruce Willis's cousin in the film, and Tom Sizemore is Robert Pastorelli's brother. I know it's a little bit hard to follow, but bear with me. And again, he's trying to solve this mystery of the strangler. And by the end, you have this little twist where I'll just go ahead and say it. Robert Pastorelli is the person who's been killing these people, all these women, and you figure out it's him, and that Dennis Farina had a hand in the death of Bruce Willis's father in the film, and you get this cool little fight at the end between Bruce Willis and Robert Pastorelli in the river. Good comeuppance to Robert Pastorelli. And that's kind of the film. I mean, I know I kind of gave the twist away. But again, I think it's a good action mystery film. And again, it's one of those Bruce Willis films that no one talks about. It's one of the less talked about Bruce Willis films. From reading about the film, it seems that people lump this with Hudson Hawk, as being Bruce Willis's worst, or whatever. And I think that Bruce Willis he doesn't like the film. I think, reading about the film, that he says that it sucks. That's what Bruce Willis said about the film later on. So Bruce Willis doesn't like the film, and it's too bad. That's where I disagree with Bruce Willis. I do like the film. Now, is it some action classic? I mean, I wouldn't say it's a great film. I'll talk about the cast first off. Bruce Willis is good here. I like his character as this cop, Tom Hardy, sort of a regular cop. And I think it's cool that he's sort of like, I think what he describes in the film, he's this water dog. He's this river, he's on river duty, and he lives on a houseboat. And again, he's a regular cop. He has like a knee brace throughout the entire film. I like that. Sarah Jessica Parker's in the film, plays his partner. I thought she was fine. I don't like her. Sometimes it depends on the movie, but I thought she was good in this film. She was cute. And I thought her and Bruce Willis had some good chemistry. You have Dennis Farina, and unfortunately he's passed away. He passed away some years back. And he was good in the film as Bruce Willis's uncle, even though in real life Dennis Farina was he's only a decade older than Bruce Willis, but you buy it. You buy it. That Dennis Farina is his uncle. Tom Sizemore's in the film, even though he's, in a few scenes. And he's good in the film. Robert Pastorelli is a good villain. And I wish that he could have played more villains. I thought he was good here. I like him in Arnold's Eraser. I thought he was entertaining in that. I thought him and Arnold had good banter in that film. And again, he's been in some other stuff that I can't think of at the moment. But a very good actor. Unfortunately, he passed away at a young age. Brion James is good in the film. Good support. As a sort of douchebag cop that's giving Bruce Willis a hard time. And it was nice to see him and Brion James, Bruce Willis and Brion James have some scenes, because, later on he would go be in The Fifth Element with Bruce Willis. He's the guy that he put in the fridge, that guy. And unfortunately he passed away, I think in the late 90s. John Mahoney, who plays his father in the film, I thought he was good. And I think he passed away like a couple of years ago. So there's quite a few people that passed away that were in this film. Now, the film was directed by Rowdy Herrington, and I think this is the same guy that directed Roadhouse. Now, I will say this. I like Roadhouse more than Striking Distance, but I thought he did a solid job on this movie. I thought he did a solid job in the directing, the action scenes. I thought the script was fine, even though, it's sort of confusing at first, the way they sort of lay out the story. More so in the first act. It's hard to describe, but it's one of those films that it can be a little confusing at first. But you catch on pretty quick. But I would say overall, the director, Rowdy Herrington, I thought he did a solid job in the film. The action scenes I thought were good. I mean, you have a car chase in the beginning. Uh, in the middle, well, I would say, excuse me, there's a scene where Bruce Willis and Sarah Jessica Parker, they see this, boat, and it's more like a ship, and they see something going wrong on the ship, where this guy, is holding these guys hostage or whatever, and he's getting ready to shoot them, and then Bruce Willis sneaks upon the ship with a shotgun, and you got some good gunplay on that. There's some good gunplay in this movie, and there's some decent action bits, and towards the end, there's some good, fight scenes. Just a couple of fight scenes. So I think there's some good action in the film. When it's there, I thought there was some good action. A couple of explosions, some good gunplay, and again, Bruce Willis. I keep saying this, but I like that he's a regular sort of cop, guy that was shunned by his peers, pretty much his family, because his family is they're all cops, and they're like stop investigating this thing, which that's something too with the script that I forgot to mention with the plot, like it focuses on the Strangler, and Bruce Willis is trying to solve this mystery of this serial killer. But at the same time, you got this subplot where he suspects his partner of police brutality. It's like, the film starts off one direction, and then it goes in another direction. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But that's the one thing that I would say about the film, is that it starts off one way, and then it goes into the whole Strangler, ordeal. Where he's trying to track down this killer. So maybe I'm alone there. It's just something I've noted, something I picked up in regards to the layout of the plot, I would say, the storyline. I thought the writers did a good job. And I want to mention the writers, if I can. And yes, I'm using my phone because my computer tends to be a little slow. So I want to give credit to the writers. Rowdy Herrington, the director, helped with the script, and Marty Kaplan. Now, Marty Kaplan, he also wrote, let's see here, he would go on to write the screenplay for The Distinguished Gentleman with Eddie Murphy. Well, before this, this came out in '93, and that film came out in '92. And then he would go on to write for a TV movie called Max Q in 1998, which I've never heard of. But again, I thought, the writers did fine. It's just that one little thing, where the film it starts in one direction and then it kind of goes in this direction. The twist in the end, I like the twist. And I like the way that was done, that, you find out Robert Pastorelli is the killer, and he got that song, Little Red Riding Hood, whenever, because the killer's harassing Bruce Willis's character, he's calling him at his house, and I like that he lived on a houseboat, Bruce Willis's character, I thought that was cool. So you have the killer calling him in certain scenes, and you hear that song, Little Red Riding Hood. I like that. So I would say overall, it's definitely worth a watch. It's worth a watch. I mean, if you're a Bruce Willis fan, it's a good action flick. It's not going to be the classic. I mean, it's not going to be like, the Last Boy Scout. I almost said the Lost Boy Scout. It's not The Last Boy Scout or the first three Die Hard films or The Fifth Element. But I think it's a good action flick. Bruce Willis is good. You have a good supporting cast. A lot of good actors in this. Sarah Jessica Parker's fine. Good action bits, you know, when they happen. Good bits of action. Some good mystery there. You know, of Bruce Willis, you know, trying to solve this mystery. And yeah, I mean, it's one of those films that people are not going to talk about a lot when it comes to Bruce Willis's filmography. But I think it's a solid, you know, solid action movie, and I think it's a little bit underrated. You know, 5.8 on IMDb. You know, it could be a little bit higher, but you know, it's whatever. I mean, that's not bad, but you know, I think it could be a little bit higher. So, and yeah, you know, good action flick that I recommend. So, yeah, give this a watch. You might like it. So that's my review of Striking Distance. Solid movie. I know I keep saying that, but anyways, thank y'all for watching. We'll see you later.